The Silent Watchers. The massive space station Nexus Prime hung in the void like a gleaming jewel, its chrome surfaces reflecting the light of 3 suns. Inside its grand council chamber, representatives from 12 of the galaxy's most powerful species gathered for the annual Galactic Trade Summit. The air thrummed with tension as voices rose in heated debate. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat quietly at the human delegation table, her dark eyes observing the chaos around her. She wore a simple gray suit, her black hair pulled back in a neat bun. Beside her, 2 junior diplomats shuffled through data tablets, but Sarah needed no notes. She had memorized every detail, every statistic, every proposal that would be discussed today. Across the circular chamber, Warlord Crix of the Saurian Empire slammed his scaled fist against his podium. The 7-foot reptilian creature's yellow eyes glowed with anger as he addressed the assembly. His voice was a deep rumble that seemed to shake the very walls. The Outer Rim colonies are disappearing. Crix roared, his forked tongue flicking between razor-sharp teeth. 17 worlds in the past 3 months. Something is consuming entire planets, leaving nothing but empty space. We need military action, not more trade agreements. High Archon of the Ethereal Collective floated above her seat, her form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. When she spoke, her voice echoed like wind through crystal caves. The Saurians speak of war, but they know nothing of true power. Our psychic networks have detected the threat. It calls itself the Devourers, and it hungers for all life. Murmurs of fear rippled through the assembly. The crystalline hierarchs clinked their mineral bodies together in distress. The gas-based nebula swimmers contracted their forms anxiously. Even the proud mechanoid collective's optical sensors flickered with concern. Senator Thorgan of the Ursoid clan stood, his massive bear-like frame towering over the others. Fear will not save us. We must form a military alliance. The strongest species must lead the defense of our galaxy. All eyes turned toward the human table. Sarah felt the weight of their stares but remained calm. She knew what was coming. It happened at every summit, every council meeting, every gathering where humans dared to show their faces among the galactic powers. Warlord Crix's laughter was like grinding stones. And what of the humans? Will they contribute their mighty merchant vessels to our defense? The sarcasm dripped from his words like acid. High Archon energy form pulsed with amusement. Perhaps they will negotiate a peace treaty with the Devourers. Humans are so good at talking, after all. The chamber erupted in laughter. The insectoid hive queen Zax clicked her mandibles in what passed for humor among her species. The aquatic depths dwellers created bubbling sounds that were their equivalent of chuckling. Even the normally stoic mechanoids emitted electronic sounds that resembled mirth. Sarah stood slowly, her movement fluid and controlled. The laughter gradually died as she walked to the center of the chamber. Her voice, when she spoke, was quiet but clear. The Human Confederation offers our full support in addressing this threat, she said simply. Our research divisions have been studying the disappearances. We have resources that might prove valuable. Warlord Crix snorted. Resources? What resources could humans possibly offer? Your species has never won a single military engagement. You avoid conflict at every turn. When the Ursoids and Crystallines went to war, where were the humans? When the Ethereals battled the Mechanoids, where were the humans? You hide behind trade deals and diplomatic immunity. Senator Thorgan nodded agreement. Humans are merchants and mediators. This situation requires warriors. We appreciate your peaceful nature, but this is beyond your capabilities. Sarah's expression remained neutral, but those who knew her well might have noticed the slight tightening around her eyes. We understand your concerns. However, we believe that different approaches to problem-solving can be complementary. High Archon form shifted to a brighter hue. Complementary. While we prepare for war, will you prepare tea and negotiation tables? This enemy does not communicate. It consumes. There is no diplomacy with hunger itself. The Hive Queen Zax spoke for the first time, her voice a sharp chittering that the translation devices rendered as cold words. My scouts have seen the aftermath. Worlds stripped bare, not even atoms remaining. This is not a political problem. This is survival. Captain Marcus Rivero watched the proceedings from the observation deck high above the chamber floor. He wore the simple uniform of a human trade ship captain, but his eyes held the calculating look of a career soldier. His fingers drummed silently against the railing as he observed the alien's dismissive treatment of Ambassador Chen. Rivera touched his earpiece, activating a secure channel. "Control, this is Raven's Eye. The diplomatic approach is failing as predicted. Ambassador Chen is maintaining her cover, but they're proceeding with formal exclusion." A voice crackled back through the encrypted line. "Copy that. Raven's Eye. Admiral Hayes wants to know if we should accelerate the timeline." Rivera watched as Warlord Crick stood again, his massive form radiating authority. "I call for a formal vote," the reptilian declared. "We will establish the Galactic Defense Pact today. All military-capable species will contribute ships, weapons, and personnel. The humans," he paused for effect, "will continue their valuable work managing trade routes while real warriors handle the fighting." The vote was swift and brutal. 11 species voted in favor. Only the humans abstained. High Archon Vela addressed Sarah directly. "You may observe our military preparations, of course. Someone needs to keep track of supply lines and logistics. It's what humans do best." Sarah bowed her head slightly. "We appreciate your consideration. The Human Confederation will continue to monitor the situation and provide whatever assistance we can." As the assembly broke into smaller groups discussing fleet compositions and battle strategies, Sarah walked calmly back to her table. Her junior diplomats looked upset, but she simply gathered her materials and prepared to leave. "Ambassador," whispered junior diplomat Williams, "shouldn't we protest? This is humiliating." Sarah's voice was barely audible. "Sometimes the best response to mockery is silence. Let them have their moment." Captain Rivera made his way down to the chamber floor as delegates began filing out. He approached Sarah's table casually, like any merchant captain seeking to discuss shipping contracts. "Ambassador Chen," he said, his voice carrying just the right tone of businesslike respect, "my ship is ready for departure when you are. The route to Earth should be clear." Sarah nodded. "Thank you, Captain Rivera. I believe our business here is concluded." As they walked toward the docking bays, Rivera leaned closer. "The packages you requested have been delivered to all the designated coordinates. Phase 1 is complete. And Phase 2. Admiral Hayes reports all units are in position. We're just waiting for the signal." They'd reached the docking bay where the human merchant vessel Peaceful Horizon waited. It looked exactly like what it was supposed to be, a mid-sized cargo ship with basic defensive systems. Nothing that would threaten anyone or draw unwanted attention. As their ship undocked from Nexus Prime, Sarah stood on the bridge watching the massive station shrink behind them. Junior diplomat Williams approached her hesitantly. "Ambassador, with respect, shouldn't we have fought back? Demanded equal treatment. They basically call us cowards." Sarah turned to face the young man. For the first time that day, she smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Mr. Williams, do you know why I became an ambassador? To serve humanity's interests through peaceful diplomacy. I became an ambassador because I was tired of war. I spent 15 years in the Human Defense Corps before switching to the diplomatic service. I've seen what humans are capable of when pushed too far." She turned back to the viewport. "These aliens think they know us. They see our merchant ships and peaceful colonies and assume we're weak. They've never bothered to ask why a species that avoids conflict has survived and thrived in a galaxy full of predators." Rivera joined them on the bridge. "The alien fleets are mobilizing. Intelligence reports suggest they'll encounter the Devourers within 72 hours. Sarah nodded. "And our people?" "Ready and waiting. Dr. Okuffer's research teams have confirmed the enemy's weaknesses. Admiral Hayes has positioned the fleet according to the tactical projections. We'll know soon enough whether 20 years of preparation will be sufficient." Williams looked confused. 20 years? What preparation? Sarah and Rivera exchanged glances. Rivera spoke first. Tell him, Ambassador. He has clearance now. Sarah sighed. Mr. Williams, do you remember the Kepler incident? 30 years ago, when the human colony on Kepler 442 bits went silent. Yes, of course. Official records say it was a natural disaster. Solar flare or something. It wasn't a solar flare. It was the first Devourer scout. The colony managed to send one message before they were consumed. They eat everything. They're coming. We've been preparing for this day ever since. The young diplomat sat down heavily. You mean we've known about this threat for 30 years and said nothing? Rivera activated a wall display showing a tactical map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of recent Devourer attacks. Blue dots showed the positions of alien defense fleets. Green dots, nearly invisible among the stars, marked human positions. We said nothing because we were learning, studying, preparing. The aliens mock us for avoiding their wars, but every conflict they've fought has taught us something about their capabilities and weaknesses. We've been playing a very long game, Mr. Williams. Sarah pointed to the display. The Saurians are excellent at direct assault, but terrible at adapting to new threats. The Ethereals have powerful psychic abilities, but rely too heavily on them. The mechanoids process information quickly but follow predictable patterns. We've cataloged every strength and every weakness of every major species. But why? Williams asked. Why not just tell them about the Devourers from the beginning? Because they would have done exactly what they're doing now. Charge in with overwhelming force, confident in their superiority. The Devourers have consumed 17 civilizations across 3 galaxies. They've seen every conventional tactic, every traditional strategy. Brute force won't work. Rivera highlighted a section of the map. The alien fleets will engage the Devourers here, in the Theta sector. Based on our analysis, they'll inflict some damage, but ultimately be routed. The Devourers will pursue them toward the core systems. And then? Williams asked, though he was beginning to understand. Sarah's smile returned, cold and predatory. Then the quiet ones finally speak. An alarm sounded on the bridge. The communications officer looked up from her station. Ambassador, we're receiving priority signals from multiple sources. The alien fleets have engaged the Devourers. Put it on the main screen. The display changed to show a live feed from the battle. It was chaos. Massive alien warships fired everything they had at twisted organic vessels that seemed to absorb energy and grow stronger. The Saurian battle cruisers launched kinetic projectiles that passed harmlessly through Devourer ships. Ethereal psychic attacks caused some damage but couldn't penetrate the enemy's collective consciousness. Mechanoid precision weapons found their targets but achieved minimal results. Within 2 hours, the proud alien fleets were in full retreat. Half their ships were gone, consumed by an enemy that seemed to grow more powerful with every victory. Rivera checked his instruments. The Devourers are pursuing as predicted. They'll reach the Nexus system in 18 hours. Sarah activated her command console. Send the signal. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. Williams watched in amazement as the green dots on the tactical display began moving. There were hundreds of them, scattered throughout the galaxy. Human ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields, gas clouds, and sensor shadows. They weren't merchant vessels anymore. My God, Williams whispered. How many ships do we have out there? Rivera grinned. Enough. The Admiral will explain everything when we reach the staging area. For now, just know that humanity's silence is about to end. As the peaceful horizon changed course toward coordinates known only to a select few, Sarah stood watching the tactical display. The alien fleets were scattered and demoralized. The Devourers were advancing toward the galaxy's heart, and in the darkness between stars, the real human fleet was finally moving. The time for silence was over. The answer in thunder. Admiral Catherine Hayes stood on the bridge of the HSS Retribution, her flagship hidden in the shadow of a gas giant in the outer Nexus system. Around her, the most advanced warship humanity had ever built hummed with quiet efficiency. No running lights betrayed its position. No energy emissions marked its location. To every sensor in the galaxy, the space around the gas giant appeared empty. But it wasn't empty. It was full of ghosts. Hayes was a small woman with steel-gray hair and scars that told stories of battles fought in the dark corners of space. Her uniform bore no decorations, no medals, no rank insignia that would mean anything to alien eyes. She preferred it that way. The best weapons were the ones your enemy never saw coming. "Admiral," reported Commander Chen, her tactical officer, "the alien survivor fleets are regrouping at Nexus Prime. They've lost 60% of their combined forces. The Devourers will reach their position in 14 hours. Hayes nodded, studying the holographic display that showed the entire Nexus system. Red contacts marked the approaching Devourer fleet, now numbering in the thousands. Blue contacts showed the battered remnants of alien forces clustered around the space station. Green contacts, invisible to everyone but humans, showed the true scope of humanity's preparations. "Dr. Okafor," Hayes called to the elderly scientist working at a research station. "Final analysis on enemy capabilities." Dr. James Okafor looked up from his instruments. His dark face was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with the intensity of discovery. "The Devourers are more dangerous than we initially calculated. Admiral, they don't just consume matter and energy. They absorb and integrate the capabilities of everything they destroy. Each conquered species makes them stronger." Hayes frowned. "Explain." "When they consumed the Altarian Empire, they gained advanced shielding technology. When they destroyed the Void Walkers, they acquired dimensional manipulation abilities. They're not just destroyers, Admiral. They're collectors. Every victory adds to their arsenal." Commander Chen whistled softly. "No wonder they've conquered 3 galaxies. They literally get stronger with every battle." Hayes turned to study the tactical display more carefully. "But they have weaknesses." "They must, or we wouldn't be here." Dr. Okafor nodded eagerly. "Indeed. Their strength is also their greatest vulnerability. They're so focused on acquiring new capabilities that they rely entirely on absorbed technologies. They have no original innovations, no creative adaptations. They're like a virus that can only copy, never create. Which means they've never encountered anything like us, Admiral. They've absorbed the technologies and tactics of 17 different species, but humans think differently than any species they faced. Our approach to warfare, our strategies, our technologies, they're all uniquely human. The Devourers have no defense against something they've never seen before." Hayes smiled grimly. "Show me." The holographic display changed to show detailed schematics of human warships. To alien eyes, they would look primitive, almost crude. But Hayes saw the genius in their design. Where alien ships relied on energy shields and exotic matter hulls, human ships used adaptive armor that learned from each attack. Where aliens used directed energy weapons and particle beams, humans employed quantum disruptors that attacked the fundamental structure of matter itself. "The temporal displacement drives?" Hayes asked. "Fully operational," Dr. Okafor confirmed. "We can shift our ships slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. To the Devourers, we'll appear to be in multiple locations simultaneously. Their absorbed targeting systems won't be able to lock onto us." An alarm sounded throughout the ship. "Admiral," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving a priority message from Ambassador Chen aboard the Peaceful Horizon." "Put her through." Sarah Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She was still wearing her diplomatic attire, but her expression had changed completely. Gone was the patient, peaceful ambassador. In her place stood a cold-eyed strategist. "Admiral Hayes," Sarah said without preamble, "the alien leadership is requesting immediate human assistance. They're offering us full membership in the Galactic Defense Pact and a seat on the High Council." Hayes laughed, the sound harsh in the bridge's silence. How generous of them. And what did you tell them? That I would relay their request to the appropriate authorities. They don't know who the appropriate authorities are. Good. Maintain your cover for another few hours. Once we engage the Devourers, diplomatic niceties won't matter anymore. Dr. Okafor looked up from his station. Admiral, the Devourer fleet has just entered the outer system. They'll be in weapons range of Nexus Prime in 8 hours. Hayes turned to address her bridge crew. Signal all units. Operation Silent Thunder moves to Phase 3. Execute Human Protocol Omega-7. Throughout the Nexus system, space itself seemed to shiver as hundreds of human warships began dropping out of stealth mode. They didn't appear gradually or announce their presence with fanfare. One moment, the space was empty. The next, it was filled with sleek, angular vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. On Nexus Prime, the alien leadership watched their sensor displays in stunned disbelief. Warlord Crix stared at the readings, his scaled hands trembling as he tried to count the human ships. "This is impossible," he whispered. "There are more human warships than the rest of the galaxy combined. Where did they come from?" High Archonvella's energy form flickered with confusion. "They've been here all along, hiding, waiting. But why? What are they planning?" Their answer came in the form of a transmission from Admiral Hayes herself. Her face appeared on every screen throughout the space station, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had never known defeat. "This is Admiral Catherine Hayes of the Human Defense Fleet, to the leadership of the Galactic Union. You have 10 minutes to evacuate all non-essential personnel from Nexus Prime. This system is about to become a battlefield." Warlord Crix found his voice. "Admiral Hayes, we accept your assistance, but we should coordinate our attacks. Our combined fleets can." Hayes cut him off. "There will be no combined attacks. There will be no coordination. You had your chance to fight this battle. You failed. Now move your ships out of our way before we move them for you." The transmission ended, leaving the alien leadership in shocked silence. Senator Thorgan of the Ursoid clans was the first to speak. The arrogance. Do they think they can succeed where we failed? Hive Queen Zax clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "Look at their formations. Look at their ship designs. I have studied warfare for 300 years, and I have never seen anything like this. They are not here to assist us. They are here to replace us." As if summoned by her words, the Devourer fleet burst into the inner system like a plague of locusts. Their ships were organic monstrosities that defied conventional understanding of physics. They moved like living creatures, twisting and flowing through space with impossible grace. Their hulls pulsed with absorbed energy from a dozen conquered civilizations. The lead Devourer vessel was the size of a small moon, its surface covered in the twisted remains of consumed starships from 3 galaxies. It broadcast a message that was felt rather than heard, a psychic scream that declared its intent to feed. The human fleet responded with silence. Admiral Hayes watched the enemy approach with cold calculation. "Dr. Okafor, initiate quantum phase displacement. All ships, implement Protocol Omega-7. Commander Chen, you have weapons free." The human fleet vanished. Not literally, but to every sensor and targeting system the Devourers possessed, the humans simply stopped existing. The quantum phase displacement technology shifted the human ships slightly out of normal spacetime, making them impossible to target while still allowing them to affect the physical world. The Devourers fired everything they had at empty space. Exotic energy beams that had consumed entire star systems passed harmlessly through dimensional echoes. Weapons that had destroyed the mightiest alien fleets found no targets to lock onto. Then the humans fired back. The first salvo was devastating. Human quantum disruptors tore into the Devourer formation, their weapons designed not to destroy matter but to unravel the fundamental forces that held it together. Devourer ships that had absorbed the protective technologies of 17 civilizations found their defenses useless against weapons that attacked the building blocks of reality itself. But the Devourers were not helpless. They adapted quickly, their collective intelligence analyzing the human attack patterns and adjusting their formations. They began firing at predicted positions, forcing the human ships to constantly shift their phase displacement fields. The battle became a dance of impossibility. Human ships flickered in and out of existence, striking from angles that shouldn't exist and disappearing before retaliation could find them. The Devourers writhed through space like angry serpents, their organic hulls regenerating damage even as they suffered it. On Nexus Prime, the alien leadership watched in awe and growing understanding. This was not the humanity they thought they knew. These were not the peaceful merchants and patient diplomats who had sat quietly through decades of mockery. Ambassador Sarah Chen materialized on the station's command deck, having teleported directly from her ship using technology the aliens didn't know humans possessed. She was no longer wearing diplomatic attire. Instead, she wore the black uniform of human intelligence, her peaceful mask finally discarded. Surprised? She asked, her voice carrying none of its former diplomatic warmth. Warlord Crix backed away from her instinctively. "You're not an ambassador. You never were." "I'm both," Sarah replied. "I've been studying your species for 20 years, learning your strengths and weaknesses, mapping your military capabilities, and reporting everything back to human command. Did you really think we would enter a galaxy full of predators without knowing exactly what we were dealing with?" High Archonvella's form pulsed with realization. The trade agreements, the shipping contracts, the peaceful colonies. It was all intelligence gathering. Sarah nodded. Every human merchant ship carried advanced sensors. Every diplomatic mission included intelligence operatives. Every peace treaty gave us access to your military databases. We've been preparing for this war since the day we first made contact with galactic civilization. The battle in space reached a crescendo as Admiral Hayes implemented the final phase of her strategy. The human fleet suddenly stopped its hit-and-run tactics and formed into a massive spherical formation around the Devourer fleet. The quantum phase displacement fields synchronized, creating a pocket of twisted spacetime that trapped the enemy vessels. "All ships," Hayes broadcast, "initiate temporal compression. Maximum power to the reality anchors." What happened next would be debated by physicists for centuries. The human fleet somehow compressed time itself within the sphere, causing the Devourer ships to experience the equivalent of years in mere seconds. Their organic hulls, designed to regenerate and adapt, began aging and decaying at an accelerated rate. Their absorbed technologies, maintained by living tissue, began failing as their biological components withered and died. In less than an hour, the Devourer fleet, the terror that had consumed 3 galaxies, was reduced to drifting hulks of dead organic matter. The human fleet reformed into standard formation, their ships visible once again in normal spacetime. Admiral Hayes' face appeared on screens throughout the galaxy as her message was broadcast to every inhabited world. "The Devourer threat has been eliminated," she announced simply. "The galaxy is safe." On Nexus Prime, the alien leadership sat in stunned silence. Senator Thorgan was the first to find his voice. "How?" he asked simply. Sarah Chen smiled, and for the first time in decades, it was a genuine expression of satisfaction. "Because we're human. We don't fight the way you expect us to fight. We don't think the way you expect us to think. And we never, ever give up once we've committed to protecting something we care about." Hive Queen Zax clicked her mandibles in what might have been respect. "You let us mock you. You let us exclude you. You let us believe we were superior. Why?" "Because arrogance makes you predictable," Sarah replied. "You dismissed us as weak because we didn't fit your definition of strength. That was your mistake. We spent 30 years learning everything about you, while you learned nothing about us." Admiral Hayes' ship approached the station, no longer hiding its capabilities. The HSS Retribution was a kilometer long and bristled with technologies that the aliens couldn't begin to understand. As it docked with Nexus Prime, Hayes herself came aboard to address the Galactic leadership personally. She was smaller than most of the aliens expected, but her presence filled the room with quiet authority. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "The old galactic order is over," she announced. "Humanity will now take responsibility for defending this galaxy against external threats. You are welcome to continue governing your own species and systems, but matters of galactic security will be handled by the human defense fleet." Warlord Crix bristled. "You cannot simply declare yourself our protector. The Galactic Union." Hayes cut him off with a look. "The Galactic Union just lost 60% of its military strength to an enemy we defeated in under 4 hours. Your opinion on galactic security is no longer relevant." The truth of her words hung in the air like a physical weight. Every alien leader in the room knew that their combined fleets could not have achieved what the humans had accomplished alone. High Archonvella's energy form dimmed with what might have been shame. We owe you an apology, and our gratitude." Hayes nodded acknowledgement. "Your apology is accepted. Your gratitude is unnecessary. We didn't do this for you. We did it because this is our galaxy now too, and we protect what's ours." Dr. Okafor joined the gathering, his scientific mind already focused on the future. The Devourer technology, what remains of it, will need to be studied and contained. We cannot allow such destructive capabilities to fall into the wrong hands. Sarah Chen stepped forward. "Which brings us to the new rules. Humanity will establish monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Any species developing technology that could threaten galactic security will be advised to reconsider their research priorities." Senator Thorgan's bear-like features showed a mixture of respect and fear. "And if we refuse this advice?" Admiral Hayes smiled, the expression sharp as a blade. "Then you'll discover that our warships speak much louder than our diplomats ever did." As the alien leaders filed out of the meeting room, their entire understanding of the galaxy fundamentally changed. Hive Queen Zax approached Sarah Chen privately. "I have studied warfare for 3 centuries, the insectoid queen said, her mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "I have never seen anything like what your people accomplished today. Tell me, was this always the plan? From the very beginning?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "Not exactly. We hoped for peaceful coexistence. We genuinely tried to find our place in the galactic community through diplomacy and trade. But we're also pragmatists. We prepared for the possibility that the galaxy might not be as civilized as it appeared. And now we have a responsibility. The galaxy needs protection, and we're the only ones capable of providing it. We didn't choose this role, but we won't abandon it either." Hive Queen Zax clicked her approval. "My people would be honored to serve alongside humanity in this new order. We recognize strength when we see it, and more importantly, we recognize wisdom." As the meeting dispersed and the various alien species began the long process of adjusting to their new reality, Admiral Hayes stood alone on the observation deck of Nexus Prime, looking out at her fleet. The human warships hung in space like silent guardians, their advanced hulls reflecting the light of 3 suns. Commander Chen joined her superior officer, following her gaze to the stars beyond. "What now, Admiral?" Hayes was quiet for a long moment before answering. "Now we do what humans have always done best. We adapt, we learn, we grow, and we make sure that no threat ever again catches us unprepared. And the aliens, they'll adjust. They're survivors, or it wouldn't have lasted this long in a galaxy full of predators. Some will resent us, some will fear us, but they'll all respect us, and that's enough." As the human fleet began deploying to their new positions throughout the galaxy, Admiral Hayes allowed herself one moment of satisfaction. Humanity had spent decades being underestimated, dismissed, and mocked. They had endured the condescension of species that viewed them as weak and irrelevant. But silence had always been humanity's greatest weapon. While others had boasted and fought and displayed their strength, humans had listened and learned and prepared. And when the moment came to act, They had spoken with a voice that could not be ignored. The galaxy would remember this day, the day the quiet species finally found their voice. And that voice had spoken with thunder.